It's the foundation of every marriage, the invisible thread holding two lives together. For years, I believed that trust defined our relationship. I had never doubted her, never questioned her late nights at the office, the sudden weekend conferences, or the texts she claimed were just business. But how well do you really know someone? One text was all it took to shake the ground beneath my feet. She'd forgotten her phone at home, a rare mistake. It buzzed loudly on the kitchen counter as I made breakfast, pulling me from my routine morning. "Last night was incredible. I can't wait to see you again." My blood ran cold, my chest tightening painfully as I stared at the screen. The sender's name was familiar. A name she often mentioned casually, dismissively. "Just a business partner," she'd told me, smiling sweetly, dismissing my questions like they were silly and unwarranted. But business partners don't send messages like that. In that single suffocating moment, my mind raced backward, replaying every suspicious night, every quickly deleted message, every whispered late-night phone call behind closed doors. Suddenly, it all clicked together like pieces of a horrifying puzzle. I felt the air leave my lungs as reality crashed into me with brutal force. My marriage wasn't what I believed. She wasn't the woman she claimed to be. She built our relationship on lies. But she wasn't the only one who could play games. And now I had the advantage. I had her secrets. And this time I wasn't going to let her off easy. Cheating isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's buried so deep in routine that you don't even realize it's happening. Not until you start looking for it. My wife was careful. Too careful. There were no lipstick stains, no secret texts popping up at odd hours, no sudden changes in her behavior. She still laughed at my jokes, still kissed me goodnight, still asked about my day. But deception doesn't always come wrapped in guilt. Sometimes it hides in comfort. It started with an email. She had left her laptop open one evening, and as I walked past the dining table, I saw a notification pop up. It was from Harrison, her business partner. "Let's reschedule tomorrow's client debrief. I have something else in mind. Let's meet at the usual spot." There was nothing inherently wrong with it. No affection, no obvious red flags, just business, and yet something felt off. I glanced at the email thread scrolling up. There were dozens of messages, all with the same vague wording. "Understood. I'll be there at 8. I know what you like." "Last night was productive. Let's make sure we cover all angles next time. I trust you. No one else would get it." The language was clean, professional, nothing that could raise suspicion, unless you knew what to look for. There were no actual work details, no contracts, no reports, no numbers or client names, nothing that explained why these meetings were necessary, because there was no work. A slow, sick feeling twisted in my stomach. I searched her inbox for past conversations with Harrison. The pattern was always the same. Short, calculated messages, never too revealing, never too personal, but always suggestive in a way that made my skin crawl. I locked her laptop and walked away, breathing slowly. Maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe there was an explanation. But then I noticed something else. Every night she worked late, she came home wearing perfume. Subtle, but different from what she usually wore. Every time she got a call from Harrison, she stepped out of the room, even when she never used to. Her calendar was filled with client dinners, but there were no clients listed. And then the final clue. She was in the shower when I picked up her phone, not to check her messages, but her calendar. "Dinner OH, Lumiere, 7 p.m., private room confirmed." Lumiere was the most expensive restaurant in the city. Private rooms were reserved for celebrities and politicians, not business partners. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and sat on the edge of the bed, my hands clenched into fists. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This wasn't just a feeling. I had proof, but I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. She'd gone through so much effort to hide this affair, convinced she was untouchable, that I would never notice. So I would let her think that. I would let her walk into Lumiere that night, all dressed up, thinking she had fooled me. I would let her sit across from him in that private dining room, sipping expensive wine, whispering her secrets. And then, at the perfect moment, I would tear her world apart. Betrayal isn't about one moment. It's a slow unraveling, a collection of small, overlooked details that finally make sense when you start paying attention. My wife had no idea that I was paying attention. The night she came home from Lumiere, I didn't confront her. I let her kiss my cheek, complain about a long, exhausting client dinner, and I played along like nothing had changed. I smiled. I asked about the food. I even joked about how much she was working these days. She laughed, kissed me again, and went to shower. She had no idea that the entire time I was picturing her sitting across from Harrison in that dimly lit restaurant, twirling her hair, laughing at his jokes the way she used to laugh at mine. I wasn't going to let my emotions control me. Confrontation would give her the upper hand, a chance to deny, twist, manipulate. I needed her to think she was safe while I pulled the ground out from under her. The first thing I did was start watching. She was careful, too careful, but that meant she had a routine. Late nights at the office, business trips that weren't necessary, meetings that had no paper trail. Her phone was always face down. She was meticulous in how she covered her tracks, but the thing about deception is that the more perfect it looks, the easier it is to spot. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. Instead, I used her work laptop. She assumed it was safe because there were no explicit messages, no saved photos, nothing incriminating at first glance, but she underestimated just how much you can learn from the way that people communicate. Harrison wasn't saved as a full name, just H. Their messages were sterile, carefully worded to look professional to an outsider, but to someone who knew what to look for, they were anything but. Last meeting was productive. Let's make sure we're aligned for the next one. Agreed? Same place? Same time. I know what you like. There was no mention of work, no clients, no specifics, just vague confirmations cloaked in professional language. It was deliberate. She thought she was being smart. She wasn't smart enough. I spent the next few weeks gathering everything, and I didn't rush. I let her continue thinking she had fooled me, let her keep sneaking around while I carefully pulled every piece of evidence I needed. I knew if I went to her boss, she could spin it, play the victim, turn it into a misunderstanding. I needed something bigger. I went after the company's biggest client. Using a secure, anonymous email, I sent every bit of proof I had compiled. Not the affair itself, but enough to suggest serious ethical misconduct. Screenshots of expense reports, meeting schedules that didn't line up, records of client dinners that were just the two of them at exclusive restaurants. No accusations, just a simple calculated question. Is this the kind of professionalism you expect from your business partners? The response was immediate. Within a week, whispers started spreading at her office. She came home tense, distracted. One night I caught her staring at her phone, chewing her lip, scrolling through her messages with frantic eyes. I pretended not to notice. 2 days later, Harrison stopped responding to her entirely. She started calling him repeatedly, pacing in our living room. I watched from the kitchen as her calls went straight to voicemail. She looked sick, panicked. "Something's wrong," she murmured one night, more to herself than to me. I set my book down. "Work stress?" She nodded quickly, latching onto the excuse. "Yeah, just work." She had no idea that her world was already caving in. Harrison had a wife who now had copies of the same messages I had sent to the client. She didn't take it well. I had expected anger, but what I got was pure, calculated revenge. His wife didn't just confront him, she burned everything down. She contacted his employer, shared what she had, and within days Harrison was forced to resign. My wife tried calling him, over and over and over. He never answered. She came home looking drained, anxiety radiating off her. That night I found her sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at nothing. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "I think someone's trying to ruin me," she whispered. I sat beside her, keeping my expression carefully neutral. "What do you mean?" "There's a rumor at work," she said, voice shaky. "And Harrison, he won't talk to me. I don't know what's going on." I put a hand on her back, rubbing slow, comforting circles. "I'm sure it's nothing. People gossip." She exhaled, nodding. "Yeah, you're right. It's probably nothing." I smiled. "You can trust me." And she believed it. A week later, she lost her job. It wasn't public, it wasn't dramatic, it was quiet and humiliating. A mutual separation after an internal investigation into her professional conduct. No official reason, no headline-worthy scandal. Just an exit that left her reputation in shambles. She came home that evening, face pale, hands shaking as she placed her keys on the counter. I didn't say anything. I just handed her a glass of wine. "I don't know what's happening," she whispered, staring into her drink. I took a sip of mine, watching her. "I do," I said softly. She looked up, eyes wide, searching my face for something, an answer, reassurance, anything. And then she saw it. The truth. The realization hit her like a physical blow. "You..." she started, voice barely above a whisper. But I didn't let her finish. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and placed a neatly folded divorce agreement in front of her. She didn't touch it. Her hands were trembling too hard. "You built this," I told her, voice calm. "Now you get to live with it." She didn't cry. Not at first. I think she was too shocked, too paralyzed by the weight of everything crashing down around her. And the best part? She had no one to blame but herself. She stared at the divorce papers, her fingers gripping the edges as if she could physically hold her life together. Her breathing was uneven, her lips slightly parted, but no words came out. I waited. I wanted to see it. The exact moment she realized there was no escape. Her eyes darted between me and the papers again, still trying to process. Then she inhaled sharply, pressing her palms flat on the table like she needed to steady herself. "You did this," she finally whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her mind was racing, grasping for control, trying to figure out how to turn this around, how to manipulate me, like she always had. "We can fix this," she tried, her voice soft, pleading. "This doesn't have to be the end. We can talk." I let out a breathy laugh. It wasn't anger. It wasn't bitterness. It was pure amusement at how predictable she was, even now. "There's nothing left to talk about," I said simply. She swallowed hard. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling. "I made a mistake." I tilted my head, studying her. "A mistake?" She nodded eagerly, sensing an opening. "Yes. I wasn't thinking clearly. I got caught up in work and stress, and I lost sight of what really matters." I exhaled, shaking my head. "You didn't trip and fall into an affair. You planned it. You cultivated it. You lied to my face every single day. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." She flinched but quickly covered it, her face shifting into something softer, more vulnerable. She was switching tactics. "I did it for us," she whispered. "For our future, for our family." I stiffened. I wasn't expecting that. She saw my hesitation and latched onto it like a drowning woman reaching for a life raft. "You think I wanted this?" she pressed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You think I wanted to lie? I didn't have a choice." I folded my arms, letting her continue, letting her dig her own grave deeper. "You weren't bringing in enough, okay?" She suddenly burst out. "I worked my ass off, and for what? To come home to a man who was fine just staying where he was, who wasn't ambitious enough to get us out of this rut? There it was. The real reason." "It was never about Harrison, was it?" I said, voice deadly calm. "It was about what he could do for you. The promotions, the money, the status. That's what this was always about." Her lips parted, but she didn't deny it. For the first time, she didn't have a lie ready. She was desperate now. "You don't understand what it's like," she pressed. "Being in a corporate world where men like Harrison make all the decisions. I had to do something. I had to play the game. I was doing it for us." "For us," I repeated. "So you slept with another man and lied to me every day. For us?" Her breathing hitched, but she nodded. And for the first time I hesitated, because a part of me, a small, stupid part, wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe that this wasn't just selfishness, that there was some twisted logic behind what she had done, that I hadn't meant so little to her after all. She saw the hesitation in my eyes and seized it like a weapon. She stepped closer, placing a trembling hand on my chest. "I love you," she whispered, voice breaking. "I always have. Please don't let this be the end. We can move past this. We can fix it." I swallowed hard. My chest tightened. For a split second, I almost let myself believe her. Then I thought about all the nights she had come home and kissed me after being with him. I thought about all the times she had smiled in my face, knowing she was lying. I thought about how she had never once told me the truth until she had no other choice. My hand reached up gently, as if I were about to cup her cheek. Her breath hitched, her eyes hopeful. Then I gripped her wrist and removed her hand from my chest. Her face crumbled. "You're just going to leave me?" she asked, voice breaking. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "No, darling," I said, stepping back. "I already left you a long time ago. You just didn't notice." Her breath hitched. Desperation flickered in her eyes. "If you walk away, you're giving up on us," I scoffed. "Us?" I gestured around the room. "There is no us." You made sure of that the moment you decided I wasn't enough. Tears finally spilled down her cheeks. I'll make it up to you, she whispered. I'll do whatever it takes. Please, just don't do this. I picked up my car keys and phone, ready to walk out. I had been waiting for this moment, the moment she realized there was nothing left for her to hold on to. I had given her time, let her sit in her own destruction and watch everything fall apart around her. Now, all that was left was to leave her with it. As I reached the door, she spoke again. Where are you going? I glanced back, taking in her disheveled appearance, the dark circles under her eyes, the way her once perfect posture had collapsed under the weight of her own mistakes. She looked so small. To start over, I said. She choked back a sob, clutching her arms like they were the only thing holding her together. I turned the doorknob. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Is there any part of you that still loves me? I paused for just a second, and then, without looking back, I said the last words I would ever say to her. I did. Once. And then, I walked out the door, leaving her to live with the mess she had made. For the first time, I was free. I stepped outside, inhaling deeply as the cold night air hit my face. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for so long was gone. It wasn't relief, not exactly. It was something quieter, something more final. As I walked to my car, I didn't bother looking back. The past belonged in that house, with her, tangled in the wreckage of her own choices. I had no reason to carry it with me anymore. The divorce went through without much of a fight. She didn't beg. She didn't try to get anything from me. Maybe because she knew there was nothing left to salvage. Her career had imploded, and with it, the carefully curated world she had built. Harrison had left town, leaving his own shattered marriage behind, and he wanted nothing to do with her. Whatever future she thought she was securing had vanished the moment she lost control of the game she had been playing. I never answered her messages, never responded to her late-night calls. She sent one final text before disappearing from my life completely. I was wrong. I should have chosen you. I didn't reply. She had chosen, and choices have consequences. I focused on rebuilding, not out of bitterness, but because I finally understood what it meant to live for myself again. I took the job opportunity in another city, bought a condo with a skyline view, traveled, met new people, and learned what it felt like to wake up in the morning without wondering what lie I was being fed that day. She became nothing more than a name I used to know. The last time I saw her, it was by accident. I was at a coffee shop catching up with an old friend when I spotted her sitting alone by the window. She had lost weight. Her posture had changed. There was no trace of the confident, calculating woman I once knew. She stared at her phone, scrolling aimlessly, but there was no focus in her eyes. For a second I wondered if she was waiting for someone, but no one came. And just like that, I understood. She had spent her whole life using people as stepping stones, climbing higher, always looking for something better. Now there was no one left to stand on. I turned back to my coffee, uninterested. She was just another face in the crowd now. Whatever happened to her next wasn't my concern. People love to say it was a mistake when they get caught, but mistakes aren't planned. They don't happen over months through carefully hidden messages and late-night whispers. Lying is a choice. Cheating is a choice. She thought she was playing the game, balancing both sides, getting everything she wanted without losing anything. But loyalty isn't a safety net. It's a privilege. And when you take it for granted, you don't just lose love. You lose respect. You lose trust. You lose everything. I didn't destroy her. I just let her destroy herself. And in the end, that was the best revenge of all.